What's up everyone, this is Darsh Kovacic, co-founder of MG Poland, JS Poland and AI Poland. Welcome back to AI Master Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, straight from Warsaw, Poland. He is strategy and digital transformation expert, MBA IT Programme Director and lecturer at Kozminski University. With over 15 years of experience connecting business, technology, and leadership, he's passionate about how AI transforming strategy and the future of work. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Maciej Madziński.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. Wonderful.
Hi Maciej, how are you?
Oh, very good.
Maybe we start with a question for those who don't know you yet. Please tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so it could be a long story, it could be a short story. Basically, my entire life, I'm linked to the digital transformation in different positions. And that's interesting because both in the, I would say, institutional part of my life and business part of my life, I was with digital transformation. So no matter I was working at the university or at factory, because I also had the pleasure to work at Process A, which is a bicycle factory, or when I was implementing AI, working in a Google partner company, still all of that was digital. And this is a really interesting experience because you see this leadership and transformation from different perspectives of the institution. I had a startup at the beginning of my life, so the startup, then from the factory perspective, so big production, and then from the implementation company perspective. So I see, I would say, different shades of gray, maybe something like that. Or some would say different shades of white because a lot of things are positive. But the longest, I would say the company I'm connected the longest is Kozminski. I started my journey there in 2007. This is a very funny story because the same month I started to be a student and the employee, which is interesting. I remember walking through one of the corridors and I've noticed that there was a board with the question, would you like to join the IT department? I said, like, come on, I would. And then I stayed. Different roles, these are different positions. I was both IT director, then the chief operating officer of the university, but then switched to the part of science and then didactic and stayed there here today. So that's why MBA IT director. So as you see, different perspectives and I think that's all about me. So no, I'm not the kind of a person who loves to talk about myself. So that's what you will get from my side about myself.
So you helped many leaders and companies go through digital transformation. What made you curious about how AI is changing leadership itself?
So that's actually a great question. So basically, these different perspectives about digital transformation always were connected by one element, human beings. I honestly believe that when you ask yourself, before we jump to AI, but more broadly, whether your IT project will be a success or not, I honestly believe it's most about the human beings. I'm not saying technology is not important. I'm not saying project management is not important, but I believe human beings are the most important part. And I've never seen, going back to AI, I never seen my entire journey linked to IT, a technology that would go as fast and adapting the company as fast as AI. Of course, with some problems and challenges, because we all know that there are problems, that not everything is working. Some people are even saying that there are fundamental flaws that we still don't know how to solve in AI. So even though I'm probably optimistic, I'm probably a little bit hyped, but still, I know that not everything is as is promised to be, and there are some challenges also on the scientific part of the revolution. But still, the last couple of years, the digital transformation first and then AI implementation, this is running extremely fast. On the same hand, we see that a lot of those projects are not working. We are citing different research, like 95% is not working, 90% is not working, 80% is not working, depending on what you cite, what you read. Then we see everybody's working faster, but again, we read the research and we see like 30% of people experience something called work slop. So a situation where AI, instead of speeding you up, slows you actually, maybe not you by yourself, but your friend who had to finish the job after you, So, no, it's like we are running very fast. Everybody's crazy about it. But then we see some red signs, or at least orange flags, saying like not everything is great. And I think the missing element are human beings. That's why I started to go into it. And then when I was talking to my PhD supervisor, Professor Tomasz Orejniczak, who he's a great guy and who was a great help to help me with my PhD. I said, Tomek, I think it's a time to think about my next step in the scientific career. I would like to research something about AI. And he was like, no, the entire life you research the leadership, the managerial element, strategy. So maybe you should research something linked to leadership. I was like, yeah, I think you should research leadership in the HR, in the IRR, because I see a lot of challenges with, first of all, adaptation, but then also about very simple things, like, for example, if the hype delivers and we will have teams which are both human employees and, for example, robot employees, not even, robot as a humanoid robots, but just AI agents, should we onboard them the same way? Or I don't know if we're going to the integration party, we should invite our agents to it. I'm joking a little bit, but, those will be real issues. And I think leaders will have to adapt their style. The leadership will have to change. And also, there are some books starting to be written about that. So the great book is called Power and Progress, which is about how different technological revolutions are changing the world. And it's also a little bit about this newest revolution. And maybe I won't spoil the book because maybe somebody would like to read it. So I won't spoil it. But I would say the final conclusion is both pessimistic and optimistic. That's at least how I read it. And it's about human beings and leadership, at least for me. And I see that more and more people are starting to discuss how to work with people in this era, how people should adapt, how should we help them. Yes, and that's why I decided to dig deeper. The great thing about working at the university is that you, of course, care a lot about the many of the things, the quality of the didactics, etc. But you also have some time to dig deeper. So I'm actually pretty happy right now that I have some time to dig deeper. My plan is to research to interview the leaders and just ask them a couple of questions like, what do you do in the area? Had anything changed? Do you believe something will change? Etc., etc.
So your talk, AI Poland 2025, Leadership in the Age of AI, Between the Promise and Responsibility, sounds bold, sounds interesting. What does the title means to you personally?
So, the title is about two things. So the AI is a big promise to everybody. So we are hearing like great word for everybody, abundance of possibilities. And on the other hand, the only thing we hear mostly in the media is the layoffs. So is it a great word of abundance, or it's about layoffs, or maybe those layoffs are not really connected to AI. So we'll see. I don't want to spoil the whole talk, but my underlying idea behind is that I would like to show a little bit of data about what AI is really changing in the workplaces, and then I would like to put some hypotheses about what might change in the leadership area. Of course, I won't have all of the answers because we are just at the beginning, and that's why I believe it's so interesting topic to research and to talk to leaders and go deeper. So if any of the leaders of AI teams you are hearing to this podcast, I'm glad to make also interview with you. That would be great, the scientific interview. But I will try to show some, let's say, scenarios I believe may happen in the future. And I hope this will inspire people to think about this AI revolution not only from the technological perspective, which is extremely important, not only from the effectiveness perspective, which is also extremely important, but also from the human being perspective. I think we will need more and more discussion about human beings in this revolution to be sure that it's not only about money, not only about savings, but also about this promise of I don't believe that there will be abundance of everything for others. This is the promise that's not possible today, probably. But I believe that we can have a better world or the worse world after the AI revolution. And this will depend on how we will behave, both as people who implement technology, but also as leaders. When I'm saying leaders, I'm not really thinking only about managers, because of course managers are very important. I will probably the most of my research, but in the 21st century, you are a leader not only because you are a manager. So for example, you are a leader. You are a leader of a community. You are organizing a conference. Your voice is very important. What you will do during the conference, what you will tell to people, what people are telling in this podcast, this will also shape the outcome of this revolution. So when I'm saying leaders, I think deeper. I'm thinking managers, of course, but I'm also thinking people who influence the world and what together we will do with this revolution. So this is something which is extremely interesting for me, and I hope also will be for all of the guests of our conference.
Definitely. So when you speak with business leaders, do you sense more excitement or fear around AI?
That's a tough question, because I think the optimistic element is that I mostly see excitement. And I'm so proud, for example, of Poles that they're trying so much to learn this new technology. Umiejętności Ultra program or other trainings. Some of them are done by SGH, so Szkoła Główna Handlowa. Some of them are done by Kozminski, so my university. Some of them are done with partnership with big tech, some of them without. But if you look, people are doing a lot. And of course, I also see some critics, like, for example, people say that the Umiejętności Ultra program is very easy. You can pass it without any, let's say, real work, etc. But from my perspective, we shouldn't. I'm not saying we should. Maybe we should criticize if you want. But I would rather look at it as a positive thing. Okay, maybe the test is easy. Maybe you can pass it with AI. But the fact that a lot of people just want to learn about the technology, just want to learn something new. This is this great thing. I mean, like, I'm so proud that students of Kozminski are asking for additional classes in AI. And I'm also so proud that so many people join Umiejętności Ultra, because it means that people want to grow. And we can criticize the elements of that, but this is wonderful, because when people want to grow, something good from this revolution may happen. So from that perspective, I would say it's excitement, because we want to learn, we want to grow, we want to improve our skills, we want to test the technology. That's exciting. However, when I'm training, for example, corporations, there's always this element when people say, okay, now we know why we'll be fired. And of course, I'm trying to show that this is so easy. And really, we should be very aware with those scenarios. Because yes, if AI delivers what's promised, there will be a seismic shift on the employee market. Again, I'm not sure that everybody will be fired, but there will be some kind of a seismic shift. But again, we know that a lot of things is not working yet. Especially this is the conference where many programmers will be people who work on a daily basis with AI, and they know a lot of things is still not working, really. So I would say, prepare yourself, and that's what we are doing, but don't be afraid. Still, going back to your question, I see this, that people are afraid. This is mostly, through jokes like, oh, this tool that Maciej showed just eliminated half of us, and this tool, the third of us, and this tool, the another third. So you will work the rest. No. I personally don't believe in that. I still believe that the human being is one of the most important, I would say, part of this equation. But that's the honest answer to your question. So on one hand, excitement, people learn, people grow, people do a lot of trainings. That's wonderful. On the other hand, those jokes about how we'll be replaced, I'm not sure they are only jokes. I think that this is some kind of the visualization of real fears that humans have.
How AI is changing what it means to be a leader today?
So I would say there are two most important elements. First one, the AI is changing how you deliver the work. And this is different in many different areas of work. So I can say, I can make one generalization like this is changing that way in every place. But when I say the way of work, I mean, for example, more and more people starts to be knowledge checkers than knowledge producers, or maybe not knowledge, but let's say product producers. So, for example, when you have just to show the real life example, so let's say that you are working in sales department and you are generating offers. So, till this revolution, you were preparing offers by yourself. Right now, more and more often, the system is generating the offer for you, and you just check it. So your role as an employee is changing. Well, right now, actually, theoretically is the same position, but practically the scope of your work, at least in the part of that element, changed a lot. And I hear this more and more. So this, instead of creation to checking content, when I talk to lawyers, we, for example, say, right now we are more and more checking what AI is producing than creating by ourselves. I'm actually surprised a little bit because, for example, I always thought that in case of lawyers, it's very, let's say, not connecting task. And maybe when you are creating a complicated agreement, it still is. But the lawyers are telling to me when I talk to people like Maciej, more and more of work is being generated. We, of course, have to check with. Not always great. We have to improve it, etc. But still, this is changing the way how we work. And that means that if you are a leader, if you are a manager, in that case, you will have to think like how the way of how your department works will change. And of course, some of that it's easy to imagine or to forecast somehow based on the data. But some is not so easy. I like this saying that people generally overestimate the short-term implications of changes, like in that case AI change, but very often underestimate the long-term impact of the changes. And for example, in case of AI, what do I have in mind is, look at my work. I'm a lecturer. I'm going for classes. I'm reading lectures. And when people think, okay, lecturer with AI, they think maybe he's doing presentations faster. That's true, I am. Maybe he's generating offer for clients fast. That's true, I am. But when I look on it, I think like maybe the next 10 years I won't be there. And not because I'm a bad lecturer or because it's not needed anymore, but imagine a world in which the company, instead of buying a corporate training for 30 people, buys 30 personalized avatars. And those avatars, every person in the group has their own avatar, which means that this avatar might adapt to this person in case of what's the content of the training, what are the examples. So today, for example, I was teaching the course about AI, how AI is changing a lot of things. And I had this feeling like, okay, there are people who are more advanced, less advanced. I have somehow to adapt to both of them. In the case with avatars, everybody will get avatar for himself or herself. So you will get more advanced if you are better and less advanced. If you need some more tutoring or coaching, this is something that one lecturer can do. So, and this is a disruptive change. So, if you think in a linear way, you think like faster presentations, better slides, maybe you will have an avatar that will do something for you. But if you think in non-linear way, you start to think maybe there will be a whole new process. And of course, I don't know whether it will be like that because it's hard to predict the future. Maybe on the other hand, we'll say, no, the training is something very personal. Human beings like human beings. So maybe still in the next 10 years, I will be in the classroom. But this is something I can imagine. And I'm giving this example because when you're asking me how these managers, the teams will change, I'm thinking like you have to start to thinking about this in non-linear way. So, okay, some things will be improved, some things will go faster, but maybe the whole idea of how the team works will be different because the team will start just to work in a different way, like with this my example with avatars. And that's the second thing I have in mind. And the third one, I think it's about psychological safety. So the AI era as a leader, you will have to care a lot about the psychological safety of your people because even if worst case scenario will be avoided, so no mass layoffs, AI will bring us abundance as some promise, etc. Still, I think the pace of change is so fast that you will have to work deeper with the people. And I'm using this word deeper because, right now, being a manager, it's very often a run, a sprint. You are sprinting from one place to another. You are trying to fix 100 things in the same time. And everybody is running. And I think the more and more important skill will be just to stop running and dig deeper into what your team is doing, what are their needs, how can you help them? Because again, if AI delivers on the promise, we will see that more and more work will be done automatically. So running faster won't be a solution. Solving issues faster won't be a solution because this will be done by IT or AI. You will have to find some great new ways of working. You will have to help people to find their new talents. You will have to help them grow. And I'm not sure we're all prepared for that. So it's very easy to make a one-on-one, open a checklist and say, done. Okay, here you have a problem. I will work with that. I will help you somehow. It's much easier to do, for example, one-on-one, which is a coaching leadership, and have a deep conversation about how the world is changing, how your position is changing, what are your needs, etc., etc. So, it's hard to give, again, concrete answers. First of all, because we are just at the beginning of this. Secondly, because we'll see how human beings adapt to that. And third of all, because we'll see whether AI promise delivers. That's another thing. But those are the areas that I told you about. I think those are the ones that will be important.
Amazing. Do leaders now need to understand the technology more deeply than before?
I think yes. I think my perspective is that AI is hard for leaders because it's hard to understand. Generally, technology probably is hard to understand. I believe it's like when you think about the cloud, pretty easy concept to explain metaphorically. Of course, behind that, there is much more deeper, but still you are saying you have a server and you are putting in on some group of servers, and this group of servers will be managed by the company for you. And because of that, you won't have to have this server, you want to have the support staff, etc. This company will be called Microsoft, and the servers will be called, the technology will be called Azure, or the company will be called Google, and technology will be called Google Cloud. So I think, of course, it's a very complicated technology, but on the business level, it's pretty understandable. So if I go on premise, I have people who work in my department, they have typical hardware in the server room. They have somehow to work with it. If I have cloud, okay, I still have some people in my department, but those are different people. The data are somewhere else. I have to care about them. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I think it's pretty easy to explain it on a business level. But now look on the AI level. Actually, nobody knows. Okay, not nobody. Most of the people don't know how AI works. I'm saying in the managerial area. Probably there are some people who love technology and they are very deep into it. They have some friends who are AI practitioners. And of course, all managers in big techs, how AI works, or small techs. But if you are working, let's say, in the typical production factory, I don't know, we are making cans, whatever. It's really hard to explain you what AI is doing. And I think it's even hard to give a metaphor because, we have this metaphor that is the artificial intelligence. But does it really is the intelligence? Maybe just a machine which is using statistics and some other technologies to predict the future. And I'm using this word predict because it's based on prediction. And if yes, is that an intelligence? Or maybe it's just a great predictor? So, it's very hard to explain this to a person because the metaphor is not really good. I mean, it's easy to say that. I don't have a better one. But the metaphor is not really good because we are not sure whether it really is intelligence. And then, I like to show this on an example. One of the big tech companies, maybe I won't tell their name, but I love their training materials. And in the training materials, this is the sentence I love. It's like, when you adapt the temperature, you can get more randomized results. Some would say more creative. And this some would say more creative is the point I'm trying to get. It's like, even in the big tech, we are not sure whether we should call this creative or maybe just more randomized, or maybe it is creative. We don't know yet. And now, when you put this metaphor of intelligence, the classic manager, which is not in the big things like, okay, so if I have intelligence, then I have a human being because it's intelligence. And then, adding those all big tech gurus who are saying like, right now we have a PhD level intelligence. And then you think like, okay, so I have this person or a bot in a team who is a PhD level intelligence. So, you have some expectations. And then hallucination starts to happen or other problems, and you're like, come on, this is not intelligence. And then you are going to the opposite direction and say like, it's a total mess, it's not working, I can't do anything with that. And we all know that you can do great things with the AI, both with the AI which was before the generative AI revolution, but also we can do a lot with the generative AI. Not everything, but this problem of explaining that, this is I think pushing people either to the the hype, like, oh, it's PhD level intelligence, I can do everything, and then, oh no, it's nothing is possible. Honestly, when I'm teaching people from AI on a business level, of course, I know that there are probably much better people than me who are AI practitioners on the technical level, but when I'm trying to explain on a business level, this part, how AI works, it's always the most complicated during the training. People want to hear about prompting. People want to hear about great things, great tools. Sorry, like, how can I make a video with AI, or how can I make a summary with AI? But I'm always saying, if you want to come to my training, you will have a module from how AI works. Of course, it won't be too deep. There will be some simplifications, but you have to understand it. Like, no, we don't want theory, we want practice. And you have to have this theory, because when you will start to understand what AI is and what AI is not, at least yet, or maybe never, because we don't know, then you will start to see the real value with the technology. And very often managers are leaving the classroom saying like, come on, great tools, great examples. I don't know, I love NotebookLM, or I love something else. But they are saying like, but this part about how it works, that was important, because finally I understand what the technology can do, what the technology can do. So this is the problem with AI, that it's very hard to explain it fast. And because of that, either we have a lot of simplifications, either we have a lot of overpromises, either we have this disbelief that it can do a lot of things. And we know it can. I mean, by myself, I think twice as much productive before the generative AI revolution. Probably my job, so being a lecturer, it's a kind of a job where a lot can be done with the generative AI. But still, it's no. If somebody would tell me 3 years ago that, Maciej, you will be able to do as many things as right now you are, I would say that's absolutely impossible. And this time I'm saving, I can spend either with the podcast with you, or I can go to the gym, or whatever else. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the biggest challenge for me right now with this AI is to, first of all, not go with the hype, but see the real possibilities. But the second one is how to explain the leaders to the managers in a way which, on the one hand, is not as boring that after 8 hours of explanations about neural networks, you don't get anything, and you say like, come on, I don't want to hear it anymore. But on the other hand, is deep enough that you know what's possible, what's not possible, at least yet.
Exactly. So you often talk about responsibility in leadership. So what does responsible AI adoption actually looks like in practice?
So, responsibility in leadership is a lot of things. It's caring about your people. It's not delivering false promises. It's caring not only about your company, but about the other stakeholders. So all of those concepts about ESG, CSR, etc. And I'm telling about the responsibility, a lot about responsibility, not because you should tell it like that. I mean, like, because it's a trend. It's more like because, first of all, I believe it personally about it, but I see it in the classrooms. So, every year I'm teaching MBAs and executive MBAs. And every year I'm asking the same question. Do you believe that the only, let's say, responsibility of the company to the stakeholders, to the world, is to make money? And a couple of years ago, nearly everybody was saying, yes, we are about making money. And this is the most important thing. Like, the rest is not on us. Right now, I think last year was the first time when over half of the people in the room said, no, it's not only about the money. So it's about much many things, like about the environment, about the society, about the social responsibility, etc. And I think this responsible leadership in the era of AI, it's about the same things. So the first thing is like, how do we care about the people in the era? If the whole idea of this revolution is to just eliminate people from the process, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan. Of course, I'm not saying that we shouldn't simplify processes. I'm not saying that we shouldn't optimize incomes. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be more productive. This is the DNA of the companies. But I think it shouldn't be only about that. The other part is the effects of using AI. And we would have a different podcast just about that. So many thoughts right now. But just let me tell you just about two. The first one is like how AI will influence the new generation. So the people who are just coming to work, they are studying right now or learning at the high schools, primary schools. And their learning environment it's much different. You probably heard those stories when people say, like, when we had a test, we just make a photo with ChatGPT, solve the test, and then you have only 5s from I don't know, mathematics or chemistry or whatever else. And that's probably great. I also had a calculator when I was at school, and my teachers were like, oh, those calculators, I was able to do it without that. But I'm not sure if the calculator was as powerful as AI. And I was talking a couple of days ago to one of the, let's say, high school students, learners, and he told me, like, I'm on second year. There are some subjects I don't know anything about. Maybe that's good, because maybe then you are specialized and there are some subjects you really care about and you learn. But maybe that's bad because you're just not learning. The AI is solving all of your challenges. And again, I don't have to answer to that because it's a complicated topic. We have to discuss it. But I have another answer. I would like to hear from a guy like that. But we had a lecture about responsible AI. And during this lecture, a teacher told us that AI is a great tool. That those things can be done with AI, those not. AI is a great tool, but look on the research, what it's doing to your brain. And this research, that this lecture could be also with the same, let's say, asterisks. I'm always saying that this is a preliminary research. So, for example, have this research showing that solving challenges with ChatGPT is less capabilities of your brain than, for example, by doing it by yourself. And of course, this is preliminary, and maybe in some further research, we will see that it's not really true or whatever. But I would like to have the class when somebody would tell this to the people in the high school, in the primary school, tell them, like, use the AI, but remember about the sources. Use the AI, but remember about the hallucinations. So, I'm not able to answer whether it's good or bad that half of the tests are being done through ChatGPT. Or I don't know whether it has maybe a third, but if you talk to young people, I would say most of them, but of course I have no data for that. Probably that also would be a great research project to check that. But I would be more than happy if schools would add something like that to the curriculum, to tell people what are the positive sides, what are the negative sides, to tell people what the newest research is saying, as I said, with all those asterisks, like we are not sure yet, this is preliminary, whatever, but just tell this to people. And this is for me responsible leadership. And this is something we're not doing. Because I don't know, maybe you know the schools that they have AI classes, not only about how to prompt, but also about all the rest of the elements I told. I know one initiative like that. One of our MBA students is doing a project called Pionierzy Przyszłości in Polish, and is done in the Łomianki city. And this is exactly what they're doing. They're showing young children how to use AI, but they're also showing young children what are the great things, what are the not so great things, where are possible traps, and they are showing them how to avoid them. And this is also for me responsible leadership. And I wouldn't say that the student, my student, who is a great person, I'm not sure I can say that she's a manager. I mean, she has a company, she's doing that, but she doesn't have a formal power to come to Łomianki city and say, like, you have to do that. No, she had to convince the city, she had to convince the school. So this is also something that this leadership is not only about the formal power, but it's also about the fact that you have this idea that something should be done better, and then you push this idea and change the world to the better place. And this is also for me responsible AI. When we are talking about responsible AI leadership, this is also for me responsible AI. So going back to workplaces, also when, for example, when I talk to students about the AI revolution, MBA students, they are very often saying like, oh, Maciej, probably the psychological safety will be the most important. And I'm like, okay, yes, but what does it mean? And then very often it's like a silence, because it's easy to say to people like, oh, don't worry, you won't be fired. But is this really a psychological safety, or is it just a false promise? Because we don't know. Maybe you won't, because as we said this 1,000 times today, maybe AI promise won't deliver. But if it delivers, you might be fired. So probably the real psychological safety is not about telling you everything will be okay. It's maybe more about giving you a space, sandbox, for example, to learn AI skills. Because then when you will be fired, you will find a new job. Maybe the real psychological safety is about showing you where human being is better than robot, or anything else. And when we are starting to have discussion with leaders on MBA studies, they're like, okay, you're right. It's easy to say psychological safety will be important during the AI era. It's harder to say what we can do concretely to have this psychological safety. So that's when you are asking about responsible leadership. Those are the elements that I have in my mind. I have much more, but I think those are the most important ones.
So where do leaders struggle most when they start using AI in their organizations?
So I think there are three areas which are the hardest one. The first one is, if you base just on the hype, you are starting to deliver some big project, and in most cases you fail. Because, for example, you don't have data, or your data is not organized, or your use case is not a use case. So, making a step back from generative AI, we have so many machine learning ideas that can be delivered in the organizations, and many of them fail just because there is a problem with data. But again, if you just based on hype and you decided to do something because everybody is doing AI, you were not prepared for that, then you may fail. So this is, I would say, the first struggle, and it's linked to the whole conversation we have. So it's pretty hard to understand this AI and explain it in simple metaphorical way. Because of that and the mega hype that we have with the big tech, people are extremely hyped. They are starting to find some possible solutions, which maybe are good for AI, maybe are not. But then the real struggle starts, because you need data, because you need governance, etc. And here you struggle a lot. So I would say that's the first part, the first struggle. The second struggle is that, I don't know, we somehow magically believe with this AI revolution that everybody will use it like that. Maybe yes, maybe new generation will teach us that, because what I see on people, they are really great with AI. This is astonishing. I love to learn from them because they have so many, I'm sitting from time to time in cafeteria school and I'm seeing how the students are solving the exercises with AI, and they are so creative with that. Some of the ways I wouldn't even imagine that it's possible. But going back to the workplace, not everybody has to be a great in AI at the beginning. And I'm just always giving this example of Excel, that Excel was invented, and then for many, many years, we trained people about Excel, about Word, about PowerPoint. We have the classes from Excel and PowerPoint in schools. We have the classes in universities. We have trainings at workplaces. And that's why everybody knows Excel, or everybody knows Google Sheets, etc., etc. And I think with the AI, we somehow magically managed to say, okay, people will just know AI. No, people will need the same learning space as they need with Excel. Maybe because of the pace of the change, it will have to be much faster. So it will be smaller window, but still we have to give people the chance. And on the one hand, people are trying to do this by themselves. We discussed this. They are going to online courses, they are training themselves, etc. But I think leaders are struggling because they expect people to use AI, but they don't want to invest in trainings. Actually, the second struggle, I would say, is mostly on the executive level, because on the middle management level, I see that it's obvious thing that people need to train, people need to gather knowledge, etc. But on the executive level, people are like, okay, we have to do AI, so let's do this and that. And for example, I don't know, coming to me and saying, Mr. Maciej, what should we do? And I'm saying like, no, in the first step, you should train all of the people. Like, do 10 groups of 30 people, so all of 300 of your employees will know basic tools, will know the governance, will know the safety, but also will know maybe a little bit about prompting, but also maybe about ESG. So, for example, when you're generating something, what's about the ecology of it, etc., the carbon footprint. They're like, no trainings, no. We need this. We need a project. We need to change something. And I'm, come on. If you train the people, and every person will be faster just by 30%, it will be extreme change in organization. No. We need a big project. I'm not saying that everybody is like that. I'm actually starting right now a company which will just be about that, about digital transformation with AI, but on the human side. So what we can do with trainings, with AI adoption, etc. But very, very often I hear, oh no, training is not, it's not AI. We need big projects. And the problem is that if people are not trained and the big projects come, and then they fail because they don't know how to work with them. They don't know what data they should give to the implementation company, etc., etc. So that would be, I would say, the second struggle, probably mostly on the executive level, less on the middle management level. And I think the third struggle is that we are running so fast, and AI is really extremely fast. I mean, like, I was on holidays in September, and I used my phone to with GPT with voice mode to learn how to prepare a pizza in the wooden oven in one of the places when I was staying in the Tuscany. And I was like, come on, I can talk to the phone and prepare a pizza in a wooden oven. Of course, oven was on the wooden, but with firewood. And I was like, if somebody would say me 3 years ago that I will talk to my phone real time and the phone will tell me what I have to do step by step. And of course, not everything was great again, hallucination program, but 9 out of 10, the recommendations were good. And I delivered this pizza and it was great. I would say this person maybe is a futurologist, maybe in the 20 years. Today, we are doing that. And this pace of change, I think it's overwhelming for many of us. And I think that's the first struggle that we are talking about. Like, you have to give a psychological safety to your people. You have to give them trainings. You have to learn about how to deliver AI projects. But probably at the beginning, you have to somehow unstruggle yourself from the fact that you were pretty good because you, I don't know, you went to the online training at Kozminski or other university. You believe that you know AI, and 6 months later everything changed. So maybe that's the biggest struggle. It's very hard to adapt to the pace of the change with the AI. Maybe it will slow down. We'll see. But right now, I don't see it slowing down. I rather see it going faster and faster.
I think we are at the beginning now.
Maybe yes. Which means that we will struggle even more. Yeah, with adaptation to that. So that will be the third struggle. And maybe, actually, this conversation gave me this thought that maybe that's the biggest one. But if I want to be a real help to my people, to my employees, to my partners, first of all, I have somehow to find myself in this change. And always, it's easy for you. It's easy for me because we are living with that. Every day I'm reading a newsletter about AI, and I'm like telling to my students, read every day a newsletter about AI. And some of them are, but then I have this thought like, come on, those people have their lives, they have their families, they have their own works, they have their own jobs. They don't have to be state of the art in AI. But then I think or maybe they have to be. And that's the struggle that this is going so fast.
You talk about new leadership skills for the AI era. Which one matter most?
So I would say empathy. This is maybe not the answer you expected, but I would say in the AI era we need a lot of empathy. This is actually something I started to matter even before the AI era. I remember I had the pleasure to study in Spain on something called positive leadership course. I came there because maybe I'm not looking like that, but I'm generally a very KPI-oriented person. I like processes, I like effectiveness. And I came there just to see how the world may look different. And this changed my perspective. Not only that, but also the PhD I wrote, because I wrote the PhD about self-organizing companies, which also have a lot of empathy in their DNAs. So maybe this trend started before the AI era, but I think the AI era is amplifying it, and we need more and more empathy in leadership. And one remark I think here, I don't believe that, empathy is agreeing on everything, because people often say, no, I can be empathetic in the workspace because I have to agree about everything. No, empathy is not about agreeing on everything. Empathy is about caring deeply and understanding the feelings about other human beings. It's not that you can be assertive or have your own opinion if you are empathetic. And then the second one I thought about, I believe leaders will start to be less bosses and more coaches. It would be great to say that I invented that, but again, this is not something I invented. This, again, I believe started before the era. Of course, when I'm saying before the era, I'm saying before the new era. So let's say the generative AI and everything else what happened, because we all know that AI it's a long time of development and a lot of great things for many, many years. And I remember the book from Gallup called Is the Manager, where the Gallup said after the research, people don't want bosses, people want coaches. I'm not sure if they want coaches or mentors, but they definitely don't want bosses. They need somebody who will help them grow, who will help them with purpose, who will help them navigate through this world, instead of people who will just tell them what to do. So that would be the second skill. You will have to be able to deliver something that I call coaching leadership. So, for example, there's a great book by Michael Bundestanier called Coaching Habit about it. So that would be the two most important for me. So empathy and this ability to I would say more pull than push people through tools like, for example, coaching leadership. Probably there are many more, but I can't tell you the everything behind my speech, because then the speech won't be useful anymore to anybody.
Okay, so how can leaders motivate people to learn a new skill instead of fearing they lose their jobs to AI?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's not one answer because how can people motivate themselves without fearing? It's if you fear something, you can't just say, "Oh, I won't fear anymore." It's like it's an emotion. It's very complicated. But I think there are some general rules what you can do, and the first one is gather knowledge. I'm always saying in those interviews, from my perspective, it was never such easy to learn as right now. Not only because of the great universities, so come to Kozminski, of course, but also because there is so much great knowledge for free in the world. Every big tech company has their academia. OpenAI have academia. Google have Cloud Skill Boost. Salesforce have Trailblazers. Microsoft has their own academies. Most of this content is either for free, either for a very small amount of money. You just need to want to learn. Then those AI tools, they are great helpers to learn. Maybe we shouldn't trust everything what they are saying because of hallucinations. But for example, if you have some, books, and then you put them into the notebook LM and use the tools like tests or interactive podcasts or interactive cards, those are the great tools to help learning. So it's very easy to learn them. And I believe that learning is such an important thing right now because my personal belief is that actually the winners of this revolution will be the people who are experts. So people are often saying the most winning group will be the juniors or the people without knowledge. I don't believe that. Maybe one day when we will solve hallucinations problem, yes. But right now, it's great that you can ask the ChatGPT or Gemini or any other tool, any question you want. But if you can't be sure that the answer is correct, how can you use this knowledge? Of course, some people will say it doesn't matter because in most cases it's correct. Okay, that's one line of argumentation. But I believe that if you're an expert, then you are using those tools and you can just in 1 second check whether the answer is correct or not. And that's great feeling because you can speed yourself a couple of times and still manage the quality of the content, which you can do if you're not an expert. So I would say learn not only about the AI tools, but learn also be better in your profession. So if you are, if you're an accountant, be a better accountant. If you are, if you are a lecturer, learn about how to be a better lecturer. Because I believe that the mix of the knowledge about AI and your professional knowledge will be a powerful mix because you will be able to check the data very, very fast. The AI will speed you and you will be some kind of a superhuman. I'm not sure if I like this sentence, superhuman, but as a metaphor, let's say, superhuman. So I would say gather knowledge. That would be the first thing. Not only knowledge, gather knowledge and skills, both from the AI and from your own profession. I believe in experts. That's my guess. The second thing, what you can do to be less afraid, I would say play with the technology. Because everybody who played with the technology, not only heard about it, but played with it, knows how easy and how fast it starts to fail. Very, very often those fails are so funny. And I think when you start to play with it, you compare you believe that you are talking to some super intelligence, and then you're asking a simple question, which the answer in 5 seconds, and the AI is thinking for a minute, and there is no answer, or the answer is not correct. I mean, there's always answer, but let's say it's not correct. Then it's like, okay, there is still a place for me in this world, but also play with technology to see where actually the possible threats are, because you will very fast start to notice where the AI is still underdeveloped at the beginning of the way. But then you will also start to see the places where maybe AI will surprise you. And if it surprises you many, many times, maybe that's a place where you as a human being won't be needed anymore. So let's say, I don't know, what we have right now, let's say with the content generation. If you are a content generator, probably only the best of the best will still stay because the rest will be automated. And we see that right now. So playing with the tools will show you what are the possibilities. But I would say maybe this word playing is not the great word. Maybe I would add deep playing with the tools, because when you start to go deeper with those tools, then you see the real value, but also the real problems. So the graphics generation is a great example. We can right now generate wonderful graphics. Then when you are a graphic and you know all of those typical graphic use cases, you start to say, okay, but this we still can do, that's not really working. And you start to think, okay, so in that part of my work, maybe AI will remove some of my workload, but in that part of my work, I'm still much better. Plus the AI it's not even able to deliver that. So when you start to play deep with the tools, you start to gather, this feeling like, I would say that's the psychological safety part of it, that you start to feel what's happening around you, and where there are threats, where are the possibilities. So I would say that's the second thing. If you want to fight with possible threats, if you want to be less scared, that would be the second thing. And the third thing I would say, maybe it will be something which will not, I would say, be great in the next 5 years. But I still believe that trust in human beings. I mean, trust in human beings, because I still believe that every technological revolution, we are hearing that the world will fall apart. And I'm in a team that believes that this one is different. I mean, this is really a different technological revolution. But I still believe the world won't fall apart. So you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say, like, don't be scared to be prepared. So gather knowledge, be an expert, play with tools deeply, but have this, inner trust in human beings that we made a couple of those revolutions and we survived most of them, or all of them actually. So probably this one will also survive. So when people are asking me, should we be afraid? I'm always saying, don't be afraid, be prepared. And from my perspective, this is also the answer to your question. Don't be afraid, but be prepared. And the preparation is a mix of knowledge, skills, etc., etc.
Maciej, thank you so much for this great conversation. It was a pleasure to have you here, and I hope this is not the last time we met in this studio.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.